Okay, great. Okay, so we'll call to order 6:02. Public comment period. I don't know if anyone had any public comments they wanted to make. Okay, great. Additional items to the agenda. I think we wanted to add the annual report, which will be item new old. Well, I guess that's old business we talked about last time under J. Will be annual report. We wanted to edit that or just give approval of it as a group. We talked about how we would do that, but then was the deadline. We got an extension, so we're all good there. Anything else? Great. Okay, and then we can review and approve the minutes of December 11th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Great. And there's a second as well. Great. All those in favor of approving the minutes as circulated? All right, that is approved. Sam, thank you for reading those minutes. I did not receive any important correspondence that I recall. And that takes us to new business, a discussion with Frida Powers. Oh, yeah, hello. Great. Okay, so we've invited Frida to join us so we could talk about some opportunities for what grant opportunities exist, what questions we have about grant opportunities. And also we have some specific questions about some easement projects as well. So Frida, are you there?
I sure am. Thank you for inviting me.
Fantastic. I'm so glad we've been like playing like cat and mouse here, getting you here. So
A
I'm
little
so
email tag, a little meeting tag, but Happy New Year, everybody.
yeah, happy new year.
Yeah, so I got your email trying to focus specifically on maybe looking for some funds to either match or support private property owners for land acquisition. Did I understand that email correctly?
Yeah, that's the gist. Is
Okay.
that maybe run with that?
Yeah, so basically this coordinates to, I was gonna tell you guys that there is a talk coming up next month in Lincoln about this. Basically, they're with the 30 by 30 board is trying to figure out how to help landowners conserve their own land. And it's very, very expensive to do so. And so we were wondering if there's ever any grant funding that could help with that, with the legal fees and with the processing and all the things that go into conserving their land.
So can I ask, I love asking questions, so I'm going to ask some questions. Are we thinking large parcels, like looking at 25 acres or larger, looking at that kind of thing? Or are we looking at small parcels around a body of water? Are we focusing on a specific like sort of flavor of landowner? Because that will help me focus on what kind of funds we're looking at and like how big. Are we looking at, each guy's looking for 10,000 or is each guy looking for like up to 30 to 40,000? What are we talking?
Yeah, so some of the larger parcels are either already in conservation or the landowners are not wanting to do that currently. So this would be looking at smaller landowners.
Okay.
And it would be the legal fees, so the like things like surveying it and the paying the lawyers to do all the paperwork and that sort of thing. I don't know what the cost usually is. I know it can be really steep and can be a huge barrier for landowners in conserving their land when they think that they're just going to give it. But
Yeah.
we'd have to talk more with the organizations around who do that sort of work. The
Okay.
land.
Do we know like and I'm asking because my past work experience with the town of Eden, where there is Lake Eden, and they went annually after grant funds really successfully under the LCBP, which is the Lake Champlain Basin Project. But there's a ton of state funds for anything water related. Our state loves that kind of stuff. And so in Eden particularly, there were a lot of opportunities that we could connect landowners to that were specifically like small private landowners around Lake Eden in efforts to, if not like legally conserve the land around the lake, how to best management practices, how to implement those. If it was tree planting or vegetation planting, the state would actually provide the funds and the training to do so, sometimes even the labor to do so. So if we're looking at, you guys know Bristol better than I do as far as topography and what the land actually looks like and what the land use looks like. So are there specific environmental factors at play that we could possibly target these funds and tie the property to? Something you guys could think of?
It would so depend on the location of the property. I mean, there's certainly a lot of water around, but there's also, I mean, there's the river and there's Bristol Pond, but, I don't know. Does anyone else have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think at this point, we're just trying to wonder, like, is this even an option? Like you already
Yeah.
said about, like, oh, like, are we even able to do that kind of work? Because we just don't know anything landscape. And so it sounds like you do think there are funds available at the state level for something along these lines. And we didn't want to even start until we knew were options out there, I think.
I think that there are, and I'm also thinking right now, um, I believe, so don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure there are state funds we could look for steep slope stabilization, which I'm sure you guys could qualify for in some of those mountain areas, right? Some of those steep dirt sloped earthen banked properties. I'm sure there are some there, and the state sometimes will provide funds to, again, if not legally conserve, but certainly to stabilize or protect, again, maybe with a rock face or some tree planting, something like that, as long as we can connect it to possibly a watershed or erosion control, something sediment control, something like that. So if we can, I think that's maybe the way you guys should possibly think about it, because in general, my brain really says no, the state doesn't really give away money for easement and conservation stuff. It's really kind of hard to fight for and usually tied to construction projects, which is not necessarily what I think of for private landowners. So maybe if we turn our thinking towards environmental, if we can tie land property that is tied somehow to an environmental concern. The state is very, you know, generous in that sort of sense. So maybe talk to folks who live around bodies of water. Um, if the state is really heavy on like especially right now, fish passages. So I know again up in Eden there were some really rural, even on class 4 roads, properties that were offered really big amounts of money from the state as sometimes if their property happened to fall in the middle of the woods even, uh, but if you can prove that it's a fish passage area, which again, I think of Bristol as really mountainous with a lot of streams and rivers. So if you have a lot of trout fishermen or properties that have rivers as their um, property line, and think stuff like that, and we can look at funds tied to those kinds of things, environmental protection, uh, any kind of uh, animal protection or passage. Even I'm thinking maybe some if they're really in forested areas possible. Uh, they do corridor linkages. I know actually where I live up in Belvedere, which is part of the Cold Hollow. So there's state funds for protecting those kinds of corridors for woodland animals if you've got a lot of moose and deer. So I would think environmental is the flavor we want to think of. And if you have a lot of landowners that are knocking on your door saying, we want to protect our land and it's on a steep slope, then talk to me about that. Or if you've got a bunch of people in a really heavily wooded area that are all really conservation minded, if there's rec trails nearby, think of stuff like that, that we know the state likes those flavors.
Okay, that's so
Okay.
helpful. Yeah,
Hmm.
just line like the the current funding priorities, but like what's happening at the state and federal level, I think, because that's really helpful. What about the current climate? Is there a lot of funding today versus I know there were many more opportunities for some of these grants maybe, a few years ago. What do you think about that like right now? Is there the
Yes. In my opinion, yes, tons of state money, actually. I know there's a lot of fear out there about the funding, but a lot of that is tied to the federal funding, and yes, state funds do come from the federal funds. But for the time being, I haven't seen a dip in the state funds myself. So I would say go ahead and continue your work.
Right, that's so helpful. And then we have a couple other projects we're thinking about. One of those is the Memorial Park Bridge. Do you know about this bridge and some of that? Have you heard of Memorial Park?
I'm actually from that area, so I love that whole neck of the woods and that bridge. I mean, I remember when they first did the improvements on that park was really awesome. And then it's when I went back, 20 years later and saw it was all closed down, I was really sad to see that. So I could totally get behind funding for that. It's on my radar. And I did see the rec department sent an email with a really, I love lists. So they sent an excellent email with a really great list detailing each park and the highlights of where their funding concerns might be or where they'd like to focus some work on. And when I think of work, I think of funding. So I love that email and I'm keeping it, and it will help me sort of look for funds for that. The state also loves outdoor rec, funding that kind of stuff. So you have a real good chance, I think, of finding some funds for that. And the Memorial Bridge project specifically, I do feel confident that we could look for funds for that. Yes. My only caveat to any of what I'm telling you, and a real strong encouragement that I would give you is put your request before the select board frequently and and passionately and let them know that you would like this to be thought of. I think they're formulating the budget right now, but let them know that you really are prioritizing X, Y, or Z. If you really guys want to get that park reopened in the next 1, 2, 3 years, whatever your priority is, um, voice that to the select board as regularly as you can because they are the ones that will have to approve any funding that we even consider going after. So it's literally the very first step is getting it before the select board that it's a priority for the town. And then they will either mentally or actually in the budget set aside, earmark some funds to support it because if we do find funding opportunities, often you'll find there's a requirement for a town match of some sort. So you want to have some skin in the game. You want to show that the town is serious about prioritizing the projects that we are prioritizing. So let's think of that too.
I was wondering if you could walk us through what is the town process for applying for grants? So what would those timelines be? What would the involvement from the commission be? Just like, I mean, obviously grants is different, but so you recommend talking to select board. And then would you write a grant? Would we help with that process? Like, what would that look like? Or how does that look like when you've worked with other commissions for this to the town?
Perfect question. Those steps would look like, so we put it before the select board. There's actually literally a form that we put before the select board to give them a heads up. We'd like to go after these funds. Um, they have to approve that form that signals that they are aware that we're putting it on the radar to go after. And then I would do probably 90% of the grant work, administratively speaking. I would definitely reach out to one, two, three, or maybe all of you as frequently as needed because you guys are you know, you're the leaders of what you're putting forth, and so you know the language, you know the projects, you know all the sweet details that I'm going to need for the application narrative. And I'll probably come to you for budget details as well. If you've got landowners that have easement conservation going on, I will definitely need you to be like the go-between. I will ask you a million questions and then you can ask those landowners. Or if we have a tree planting or a vegetation project around a body of water, I'm going to actually ask you guys for who do you recommend or who do you have in mind for doing the work or buying the trees from? How many do you want? Those details I'll ask you for, but I'll be doing all the administrative stuff. And then if we get the award, which we regularly do, we're actually pretty successful. I will do all the administrative work afterwards, which means I would correspond with state on our behalf and do all of the tracking of funds, all of the expenditures, budget stuff like that, and do all the drawdowns for funds to recoup our money after we've achieved all of our deliverables.
Cool, thank you, that's very helpful. Should people have questions? I've been sort of hogging, I have like a whole list of questions, so. Does anyone else have anything they would like to ask?
Is there any particular like size of grant that does it necessarily follow that the smaller the grant request, the more likely it is to be funded? Is there a kind of sweet spot of size of grant that you like to fund or not necessarily?
That's an interesting question. Not as much as you might think. You might really think if there's smaller projects, they'll get more. That's not always the case. Sometimes the state is working with really large amounts of money and a surprising number of projects get selected. It really depends on well, it depends. It sort of depends on what department of the state we're working with. AOT tends to work with really large sums of money, construction projects. And surprisingly, the environmental, the ANR division of the state is pretty generous with the money, and they tend to fund a large number of projects, and they're the ones that will do stuff that's tied to environmental concerns. So they're going to be our friends, hopefully. And and what ones do I like to go for? Any and all. I go for grants anywhere between, if we can do 10 to 15,000 for a small project, all the way up to really, really, I go after $500,000 at a time for the town.
Yeah, the Memorial Park Bridge, the more we think about it, the more that's a really expensive project to
That's going to
actually
be a big one. Yeah.
bridge out on that slope, put something else in that would be safe and last for a long time. Like, oh my God, I don't even, it's too much for us to even imagine, I think. It's just overwhelming.
Yeah, that one actually is very doable, I think, and I would say fundable, definitely with state funds. That's one I think that the state would be proud to fund.
We make a great postcard at the end, we did it. It's so beautiful and so safe now, right? And
Well,
that's really helpful.
particularly because that part of that parcel of land is actually pretty large, and that bridge is instrumental in accessing about like what 75% of that parcel, you think? So, I mean, it really is a recreational gem that is really sadly unused because of really truly because of that bridge and the lack of safety. So I think it would be we could put a really strong application together, I think, for that particular project if and when the town is financially ready to do that.
Okay, that's really helpful. And then I know in the past, we've leveraged money with the select board's approval from the Conservation Reserve Fund for very specific uses. We can use those funds for land acquisition, conservation easements, or interest in properties that achieve the Bristol Town Plan's conservation objectives. And so we have leveraged funds with that in the past. And I think we calculated at one point that we were able to leverage $11 in grant monies from state and federal agencies, as well as donations for every dollar spent from that conservation reserve fund. So we're really proud of how we've made that money work for the town, with some previous projects.
Okay, I have two more things to say. One's an additional added to the list. Specifically funding right now, the state is in favor of anything that is a mitigation for flooding. So if you've got folks in the flood corridor, let's talk. And anything near the river, where the river may be changing its course, which I know is definitely happening in your neck of the woods. So we could talk there too. And my question in response to what you just said is, could you maybe give me one or two examples of where what your funding has supported in the past, so I can sort of get a flavor of where you guys have focused?
Kristen, would you like to talk about that project?
Sure, happy to. So we have largely used the Conservation Reserve Fund as matching dollars to support um, property acquisition or conservation easements on lands. So, for example, the Bacon property, the Schwanier Farm, those were conserved through the Vermont Land Trust. We participated in a couple of projects with the Vermont River Conservancy. So the Saunders River access parcel was acquired in part with some Conservation Reserve Funds monies. And later in 20, right during the pandemic, we acquired the Fuller parcel that is contiguous to the Saunders River access. And some of those expenses were covered through the Conservation Reserve Fund. And also the Northern Gateway to Bristol, the Bob Fuller Farm and the Farr Farm, which is now the Gateway Farm.
Mhm.
Those both two projects were conserved through the Vermont Land Trust with some supporting funds coming from the Conservation Reserve Fund. For example, we paid for the part of the appraisals, and we've also supported some buffer plantings at the Far Farm, which is now the Gateway Farm.
Okay, nice, very nice. That's a good list. So were those projects brought forth by the property owner or by the land trust?
In some cases, the Conservation Commission was made aware of those projects by Vermont Land Trust.
Okay,
In other cases, they were projects spearheaded by us, the Conservation Commission.
wow, excellent.
I can send you the kind of the grant summary reports from those if that would be helpful, just history for
I'd
you.
love to look at that. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Yep.
Well, you sound like a passionate group who gets things done. That's excellent.
Mm.
I've also pasted in the chat a link to our, a PDF that's, just on our website, or webpage, I should say, on the town's webpage.
Yes.
I linked, there's a PDF there that explains one sort of major example and some details about the fund.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Well, thank you. I'll take some time to look at that too.
I think so. Other questions people have? Okay, so I think I have sort of a last question is, as we're, I figure I think what we'll do is we'll think about what you've said, we'll marinate on that a little bit, talk about it, over the next meeting or two. And then, if we're developing sort of a long-term conservation plan or thinking about what we want to do for grants, what advice could you give us to make sure that we're sure that we're like grant ready? Like, what would you want us to do before we talk to you again about, okay, like we have this idea, this is what we're thinking, like what would you like to see so that we could be successful, have a successful conversation and sort of move that along if we decide to do something?
I get that. What I encourage all departments when I talk to them about grants is we like to have a focused scope. So even if it's multiple projects that you're thinking of and they're really diverse, that's fine. But like let's focus each one and within each project, really hammer out the scope. What are we looking to accomplish? What's the problem we want to solve? And what's the outcome we hope to get? And so hammering out scopes for each project that you have in mind. And if you're really this close to it, to start getting quotes in hand. So I know the rec department likes to throw out ideas for projects often and frequent, and they expect them done like in a year. So I tell them right away, go get quotes. If you guys are thinking like that quickly, then start getting quotes. If you're thinking like we're really not there yet to implement the projects, then don't worry about that. Just let's focus on the scope of what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, cool. Does that make sense to everyone? Good. All right, any last questions? All right, great. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad we finally were able to touch base with you.
Me too.
There's been so many weird things that happened the past couple months, so we really appreciate the time you spent with us and all the time you tried to meet with us as well. And then, yeah, we'll just be back in touch. We'll think about it and get back to you, which is good. You know, we don't even know how to have the conversation until we know, what those next steps are. So
Yeah.
thank you. It's really
Well, thank
helpful.
you so much again for the invite and invite me back anytime if we just want to touch base and have more follow-up just to stay in touch or anything you guys want, or if you are thinking of really specific projects, let's start a conversation. Anybody can email me at any time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's really helpful.
All right, have a great rest of your meeting, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Okay, so does anyone like to comment on that before we move on?
No, it's just interesting. I mean, it's just very interesting. A lot of these processes can be kind of opaque, I think. And so
Yeah.
that was actually really cool. And I know that she could be that engaged. So that, yeah, no, that was excellent.
Cool.
Seems like there's money out there for things like
Yeah.
the wildlife corridors and stuff.
Mhm.
We can sort of like actually figure out
Right.
something
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
about all of that.
Yeah, and you can pick Alex's brain for some of that too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about what do you think about thinking about some of these things? And let's have a discussion for our February meeting about like what we're thinking about grant ideas and if we want to pursue anything. Does that sound like a good
Yeah.
plan? Okay, great. I'll put that on the next agenda. And then next up is Zaylee, old business educational outreach.
Yeah, so I have a request in for Holly Hall for the 5th of February. So, I have sent Kate Kelly a flyer to have her edit, tweak. And she hasn't gotten back to me with those yet, but once she does, I'll send it out to everybody and try to get the word out as much as possible. If anyone has any groups or anything like that, last time I emailed other conservation commissions and put it on Front Porch Forum in like 4 different towns and put up flyers. So the second we have the hall, I'll put it on Front Porch Forum and try to get it on a couple community calendars. But if anyone else has any groups or places that they could put it, I'll send out the flyer so that people can put it up and yeah.
Would you mind telling us a little bit more? So what was the day and time and what is the topic?
So
And
it's
just
February, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
February 5th.
Okay.
At 7 o'clock
Okay,
at Holly Hall. This is pending approval of our request, but it was available, so I assume it will be approved.
Okay.
And it is the Lewis Creek Association coming and talking about water quality along the water pathways in Bristol that go out to Lake Champlain. So this has to do with farming and people's landscaping. They have a bunch of data points and maps that they want to go through and then and talk about some of the issues and then talk about some landowner options for how to improve water quality in our area, especially with flooding in the last few years.
is this specifically targeted certain homeowners or just like the whole community so they should
I
know?
believe it's the whole community. It's anybody in the watershed of Lewis Creek.
Okay.
Is my understanding. They got funding through someone, I can't remember who, to do these talks around and get the outreach.
Cool, that's
So,
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, she approached us about doing it.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
And did you turn in receipts from snacks that you did last time? Well, if you want
No, I
to do
can
snacks
do that.
this
Yeah.
time,
I'll do it.
you can get receipts, and then, because we have an operating budget that we want to use every year, right?
Yeah,
So it's
I'll do
so
that.
small, we just like to pretend we don't have any money,
Yeah,
but we do actually have a little bit, and we should use what has been allocated to us, so.
okay, sounds
So,
good.
yeah,
And you snack budget.
yeah, just a
Yeah.
little snack budget,
Yeah.
or maybe some color copies with it.
Not too many colors.
Not too many
Good.
colors, just a few color
Yeah.
copies,
Yeah. Yeah, so any way that people can get the word out will be
Cool.
great.
Are you gonna send it to BES to put in that principals newsletter? That
Well,
would be
so
cool.
yeah, so I talked to someone about it last time and they said it's mostly like it's mostly like kid-based stuff. that they
Oh, it's
put in
just like,
there.
that's too broadly, like everyone educate, that kid
Yeah.
education, I see,
I think
okay,
so. Yeah,
no, makes sense, yeah. Wow, we tried,
yeah.
okay, put it in the library, is always really good.
Mhm.
Okay. And then what about future events, or sorry, other questions about water quality presentation? Do you need people, because we won't be meeting again before the 5th, so do you want people to lock down like who's gonna help,
Right.
right? You wanna discuss
That'd
that?
be great.
Will
Yeah.
be similar last time?
Huh? Yeah.
Will it be similar last time?
Yep, so I'll get there at 6 o'clock. I think it took us like half an hour to set up, so that's not even necessarily, but
Okay, 6:15.
yeah, anyone who's able to come in the hour before to set up chairs and tables would be good. Outreach is the really big thing. So
Okay.
if people could help with outreach, that would be great.
Okay, just like advertising that this is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, this sounds good. And then just, can you please email and just verify specifically that that is the time?
Yes, and
And
I will
maybe-
send out the flyer.
And then, yes, send the flyer so we can forward it, and then also reiterate, like, it'd be great if you all came by 6:15, or, just so it's on our radar.
Mhm.
Cause we won't meet again before then.
Mhm.
Great, to be awesome. Okay. Future events. What do we want to think about future events then? So this one's locked down. There was a discussion last time about inviting I think it was the Be the Change pollinator folks. I don't really know much about that though. Anyone? I don't know if that suggestion came from someone that wasn't here tonight, or if anyone knows anything about, so they want to do is sort of, something we could do in March or April. We've talked quite a bit about thinking about not doing no mow bay, no mow May, but instead doing something about pollinators. And we had talked about maybe having some kind of a pollinator event or talk of some kind. That would make a lot of sense, looking at March, April. But I don't know who that would be, what that would look like, but I know
We could
we had
see
talked
if,
about that.
I mean, Pollinator Pathways has their own thing going on, but we could see if they wanted to team up on anything too.
Was Pollinator Pathways?
It's a group that works on creating awareness around pollinators.
Okay.
They have their own lecture series. And then they work to like get pollinator friendly legislation passed and such. They were like big part of trying to ban chemicals and stuff like that.
There's like something that would be pretty well attended. I feel like people would be really interested in that. It's
Yeah.
the thing that we all can do.
Yeah.
Especially if we time it.
Yeah.
Part of the year, you know?
Yeah. I mean, they totally have their own, lecture series, their own things going on, but I could see if they had anything that they wanted to do.
Other ideas along those lines,
We don't have Holly Hall past the 4th
right.
But-
Of March.
of March.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, but we can do the basement of Howden.
Mhm.
Or something else.
Yeah.
Fire stations, school, churches.
Yeah.
Question mark.
If we think it's gonna be huge, a church, if not, Town Hall.
Mhm. Okay, so what's our like actionable point here for future events? Do you want to talk about in February? If we're talking about February, getting it in lockdown for March could be pushing it, so I just want to make sure if we want to do that, we might want to like move on that. Any ideas? Do you want to talk to the pollinator people?
I can email them.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, sounds
Figure out
good.
who to email there.
Yeah. Okay, is that good for the educational outreach for everyone? Sounds fantastic. Right, radio station. Gail, this is you.
I emailed David and he,
Oh, wait. Reference, like, just give us like a 2-sentence, like, what's happened with the radio station? Like, what is this all?
well, I don't think anything's happened. I don't know about the radio station. All I did was email David with our
Okay.
questions. He's the one who came and presented. And we, last time we met, there was a little bit of confusion of what our next steps were supposed to be. And you wanted me, or, ask for somebody, and I volunteered to ask him what the step to confirm. And it basically, he is looking for a representative, 1 or 2 of us to be a representative. And he's trying to create this subcommittee that will decide how to proceed. He has not scheduled, because I asked, like, when are those meetings? And he said, well, once I know who all is going to be on it, and I think he's just waiting for us, then he's going to have this subcommittee. And then the subcommittee is trying to create content, he said, for 2 to 3 radio programs. Oh, well, this is what we were talking about. Either each town would create content for 2 to 3 radio programs per year, or as a subcommittee, we would decide, whoever's on the subcommittee would decide to take a different route, maybe creating 12 total shows. And he was just waiting on us to proceed. So that's what I found out. I don't know where the radio station is at. I guess I didn't ask him that specifically, but just where this conservation show is at is all I know. And so he did ask me if I was a representative, and I said, I don't know. I'm kind of new to the committee, so I don't know if I would have as many ideas. I am new to this committee. I'm willing to do it, but he did say 1 to 2 members, so maybe somebody else wants to also do it. I don't know if anybody else has time, and I have no idea when the meetings are going to be or how often, so that's what I know.
we had like someone who did science communication as a profession, you know, and like wrote articles, books.
Only we could find someone like that.
We could find some of that in our community. That could be great.
I feel I'm being volunteered.
Only if it's of interest. Gail, thank you for connecting with him. That sounds great. That's very much more clear, so we know what's being asked. That's wonderful. Does anyone have interest in being a second person with Gail on this group? Or you think Gail's got it in hand?
I mean, I'm genuinely happy to, if you want to back up there, Gail, I'm happy to do that.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, like, sounds like the more the merrier. I mean, if people are willing to do it, and maybe you have more expertise, I was just willing to give it a go, but I don't really have any expertise. I would research, you know, ideas from you guys and bring it to them, or them bring it to you. That I can do. Like, communicate.
A little bit of programming if I'm told.
Well, it's only two. So you've only.
I'd just be 2 to 3 if it, you know, I guess that first meeting, that'll be one of the first agenda items is, do we want to work on them as separate towns? I don't know if we want, if you all have any input on that right now, or if you want to wait till we would go to a meeting and come back to you. But like, if you prefer like to have, we get to come up with 2 to 3 shows ourselves, or do you not have a preference, you know, if it's sort of that way, or maybe it's just going to be the subcommittee coming up with them and not, you know, putting any particular weight on us as a total committee. That
Yeah, it would be, what are they looking for, right? Do they want stuff about polar bears? Do they want stuff about, you know,
Pollinators.
the bridge,
Yeah,
Memorial, right? Like, what are they looking for? I think that's when the committee will probably think of, and they'll figure what that direction is at that time. So it'd be great if you could connect, you know, talk to these folks, see what they're looking for, and then kind of come back, and we could throw ideas back and forth, and be a nice way to go about that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rename this conservation podcast instead of radio station on our agenda. Cool. And so we'll do a conservation podcast update in February and see if you've reached out and if any connections are made. Does that sound like a way to continue with that?
Yeah, and then Kiernan, is it?
Yeah.
So I can include your email when I email him and say the two of us I would like to be included on that committee, and so then okay. So I'll do that.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you both. Anyone else have anything they want to say about this at this time, or should we move on? Okay, we're moving on. That sounds great. Parks update. You want anything about the parks? So Aiden sent an email to Freya talking about some small things that maintenance and action outlook for 2026. And they've mentioned a few different things. I'm going to put this into the chat. Should I put that in the chat? I don't know if it's public. I mean, it's just a bunch of little broken things. So let's see. So Prayer Rock looks like they'd like to fix some benches. Eagle, they're looking into tree pruning, new fence repairs, mulching, just sort of your basic things. Memorial, he says they are hoping to regrade and level the parking area, add some entrance markings to improve traffic safety. But again, personally, I would be concerned about drawing people to an area that has a condemned bridge, because that feels maybe not like a great direction. Sycamore Park, he wants to do bush hogging, trail maintenance, in conjunction with the Boy Scouts and the Parks Department. Relocate the rain fence to the newly established property line. I don't really know what that means, but that sounds like something interesting is happening there. Update the kiosk as always, and continue with the access road project. For the village green, he wants to work on play structure, coating and sealing, turfing the ground, turf seeding and aeration of the lawn, elm tree stump removal, and then stage a portable, like a portalet that's ADA accessible out there as well. Also says they would like to initiate discussion with the Bristol Conservation Commission on the It's been a long day.
French influence.
My legs are so tired. I can like hardly walk. Sorry. Initiate discussion with the BCC on potential design and staging proposals and present the project to select board for review and approval about staging a portalet where the dead elm tree was removed with a temporary vanity structure. So I probably wants to talk to us about that, but I don't know the details in that sense. I just read you. So those are his priorities, turning kind of turning that page over, looking at 2026. That's what they're thinking about. So kinds of things we normally look at, but no specifics about the state of the parks right now. Do you have any thoughts on what this I just read or things they want to talk about with the parks?
Well, that was all kind of interesting and clear.
Very snowy out there.
Yeah, that's the state of the parks.
Currently. Okay. Oh, we already had annual town report. I said submitted. It was ambitious, it turns out. I did not submit that. I don't know if we should talk about this now or just jump to it, because I already added annual report again. Robert's rules, anyone? How do you feel about that, Nancy? You want to talk about the report now or do you want to wait?
Well, I think it was already added, so I think it should be fine, right?
It was not submitted. That's old business D. Report not submitted. And then we'll move on to E.
And new business is future submission.
Okay, so we have E, Green Up Day. Usually, I would hear from Green Up Day by this meeting, which means I'll probably hear from like tomorrow or something. And my plan is just to do what we've been doing, unless we have other plans people will come up with. But I think I think we'll just do the same sort of thing. It's May 2nd this year. So we'll do some tables, we'll hand out bags, we'll get the bags out there early, so people can put bags out there early as well. We had a lot of bags handed out this year, lower trash, and I have no idea if that is lower like human effort hours that went into it, or if that is less trash. My inclination is it's less effort than trash. I'm sure the trash is similar. Maybe the town's doing great and we have less litter. I don't know. The numbers were lower last year, and I'm not quite sure. Maybe it was rainy. I don't know. So we'll just continue on as we've been, I think. Unless anyone has
It was really rainy last year on that Saturday.
But that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, we put the bags out early too. I think we put them out over a whole week, so people had an extra weekend. Usually I put them out on the Monday before Green Up Day, and I think Meredith had to put them out on Friday because she wanted people to have that extra weekend. But that didn't seem to make too much of a dent in terms of weight. Maybe it's with bags or with people having the time to do it in their day, but we didn't get as much weight that year. It's really hard to tell. Like sometimes I'll be like, yay, we picked up so much trash in Bristol, but I don't want to come across as like, because Bristol had the most trash, right? Like I think it's because we tried the hardest, but that's a fine line, I think, to message, right? And I have no data to know, right? Like we usually have way more trash than Middlebury. It's like, oh, come on.
Really?
We have like far fewer people. It's even more rural. Like I'm sure we have less actual trash in the landscape, but we just have a really big push. We have a lot of people, a lot of volunteers, like a lot of man hours putting in Bristol. Whereas like there's far fewer bags for Middlebury. For example, I'm not trying to do trash Middlebury. But just as an example of like, I think the trash is probably homogeneous across this area, and it comes down to effort. So I don't know if effort's down, if that has to do with the rain. We also already had a MAUSD mentors and mentees group of some kind has reached out to me that they would like to do something. So we're gonna have all of BES plus I think they're coming out of Mount Abe as well, that wants to have like a big area they'd like to do this year. I don't know what that's gonna look like. So, we want to make sure, it's a mixed age group. So there's, I don't know how young to old, but I think it's a lot of school years. We've had big groups in the past. We've tried to say like what's something safe they could do that's local, they could walk to it if possible. And we've had some good success, with, we had scout troops work up with the coffin factory one time. We've had some pull-offs that were pretty bad. Then we had groups just like go to that one pull-off. And the sheriff's department actually for this area, we had, darn it, well, I forgot the sheriff, Michael Elmore, he got a team of them to go to that, it's like a notch.
Is it on the
Upper notch. Upper notch has 3 pull-offs and the road sort of falls off right there and there's a lot of trash that gets dumped off of that cliff edge that
Yeah,
goes
it's an unbelievable spot.
down,
So
it goes
much trash.
down along the edge of the sort of cliff face and then down into the water.
There's mattresses, it's always.
Really?
It's some
Oh, yeah.
really bad stuff in there.
It's
Yeah.
gnarly, always.
So they said that every year they like to pick a spot and try to help out with that. It's the kind of thing that we can't send Boy Scouts down the slope. We can't send kindergartners, or this has to
It's
be.
quite a
like,
slope.
This
yeah.
is like real workers. And so the sheriff's department down there, we bought them a bunch of Gatorade. And I gave them 100 bags that they filled. And they got a ton of trash out of there 2 years ago, which was really nice. They helped out. But yeah, I mean, it is like, it's nasty over there. I don't know what our solutions long term. You know, if we've seen mail or we've seen household trash, they're having efforts to try to have police have put game cams out there to try to give tickets to people. They can get license plates of people that are dumping, or they can find like envelopes with addresses and things. So they're having game cams out. They have ticketed people in the past, as I understand it. And they say they've attempted to. I don't know if that's like something I know, like, I know they've worked on it. I don't know the status of those cases, but, I know that there was a police presence over there. I don't know if it helped or not. I don't know. So that's a kind of place that we need help. Doesn't feel like Green Up Day, you know, it is litter on the side of the road that's illegally dumped right along that edge, but, it's not in the spirit of the community picking things up with a bunch of school kids, right? It's something that's outside that scope. But if we had a bigger, you know, if the fire department wanted to do something, that'd be a great spot. But for this group, it sounds like it's a lot of ages and they really want to help. And so if someone has a spot they can maybe walk to. BES has a day where they all go in the afternoon. They all take every single class and they walk around. And I have a map of which streets are the kindergarten streets and which are the 3rd grade streets, and it goes all the way across. And so they do that same map every year. The teachers kind of scope out their spots. And so again, though, how much trash are those kids picking up right, you know, down Pleasant or Pine, it's just right in the main streets there, Garfield. So I don't know how much trash they're really getting, but it's more about getting them thinking about it, so they'll be good citizens as they grow up. Oh, we always do this in school, we'll do it now.
I'll throw some trash in my front yard.
Exactly.
So we did say, one year we talked about putting money on the ground, like just like getting a lot of like pennies or maybe these days nickels and like just putting them on like the sidewalks for the kids to find. We talked about that one year. And we also talked about planting like litter bugs, like something made of trash. It's cute that you would like put on different sidewalks.
Oh, that's
And the kids that
cute.
found one could like get like a
Oh, yeah,
prize or
that's a great
something.
idea.
That's a fun idea.
so we've
Where
talked
it
about
is
that,
trash,
but-
it does need to be thrown away.
Right.
But it's.
Well, we've never done it, but we've talked about it as like, would that be a good idea or
Well,
not? So.
I'll just, that week, just throw my trash right in my front yard.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
Have something to do.
Yeah. This is what life's about, kids. Get used to it.
But yeah, you know, I think I'm not exactly sure the numbers, but my sense those bags are not overly full, you know.
I doubt it.
You know, you take 20
I mean,
kids. and they're
probably
picking
the
up the-
occasional old Halloween candy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about like the doing the civic service, the getting outside, you know, thinking about, oh, this is a green bag, telling their parents they did it, so their parents might do it then because they think about it, you know, keeping a type of conversation. So it's almost like an ad and like, you know, modeling good behavior. But I don't know where this group should go, so we can keep an open mind about where that group should go. You know, we could get a group going to Sycamore Park. We had a couple groups go there in the past. Sometimes some groups say they have a hard time transporting kids out there, or groups. But just something to keep in mind if we can think about, or as the snow is even starting to melt, if you're noticing like, oh, that's a bad spot, let me know so I can direct groups there as well. But yeah, I've already started getting emails. about groups that are interested. So, or if anyone's involved with a church group, with the volunteer fire department or rescue, I don't know, whatever things are in town, if you want to tell those groups, hey, let's get together and we can all make a big spot. We can work on together or something. We have had, I think there was a library. We had a library story time one time that all met, instead of at the library, we all met at the pump track. Because a lot of stuff gets blown and it gets stuck on that fence around the pump tracks with the down here with the
I was gonna suggest for that group that you don't know the ages, they could do the pump track, the rec field, the skate park, because it's pretty, there's no traffic.
There's no traffic and there's a lot of stuff that blows against those fences, I know.
So for
yeah.
all, and like even the high school fields all around, like it's a huge area. So if they have a lot of people,
Yeah.
they can do whatever.
And if there's older groups, they could start going down, that was at Stony Brook Road, is that what that is? It's more about traffic there with kids though, but if it was high school students, they could handle that.
Yeah, high school students I would think could handle like even like
Yeah.
dirt roads and stuff.
Yeah, they said it was like all ages, but I'm like all ages of the middle school, high school, or was it like BES plus the high school? I couldn't tell from the email, so early days of planning still, so. But yeah, anyhow, if you know any scout troops or whatever, I don't know. Let me know. So we're just gonna start the juices flowing on Green Up Day. Oh yeah, last year I had requested like a pencil or a sticker or I forgot what for every kid at BES, because we've always just asked for enough for like kindergarten or something. And I didn't know if they would give it to me or not, and they did. I was like, this is amazing. So I'm just gonna keep asking for prizes for all those kids. I think it'll help them be happy if they picked up garbage and they got a sticker or whatever,
Yeah.
Kids like that stuff. Cool. That's all I have for that, but I'll be checking in with that. We'll keep it on the agenda through May or June. Let's move on to pollinator plans for spring of 26. So we said we wanted to have this on the agenda just to start the conversation because it will come up quick. It's already January. We only have so many meetings. So what are our plans? There was a group that did no mow May. They're thinking maybe less of that, more of pollinator focused work this year. And whatever you want. I do Green Up Day. Other people do pollinators. I can only do some of that. Just well, who's our pollinator group and what do they want to talk about with this?
Where's Helen, wasn't it?
It was Helen and
Oh,
Nancy.
yeah.
Roger's been talking a big game about pollinators too, but he's not here. So.
Yeah, I like the shift to pollinators, but that's as far as my thoughts go.
Okay.
I tried to do pollinator pathways for a while, so I attended some of those things, and some of it gets kind of complicated, but and no mow May, it can be such an intense thing if you really don't mow, and then you end up with, like this wild yard. I mean, that's kind of what I do. I have areas that I don't mow and stuff like that. So you're talking about a push, like something we do where we're kind of doing a push for the community? Where we're
was basically that. So we used to try to promote no mow May, but like you said, it can be really challenging. I know that we had a whole section of our backyard that became invasive weeds because we did no mow May several years in a row, and so instead I planted a bunch of pussy willows because it's an early pollinator plant. So our thought was to do less outreach about and education about no mow May and try to instead push education about pollinator health. That can be encouraging people to not pick up their leaves in the fall, which again for some people doesn't work, but it might work for some. Some people might just not know that leaving your leaves there is really helpful for pollinators. Planting native plants, get people aware, just basically awareness around pollinators in the spring instead of around no mow May was the idea. That was the whole idea. We don't have any other ideas currently.
Yeah.
So if you were on pollinator pathways, that seems like you could really run with that.
sort of like being on this committee, I felt like kind of over my head. Like I was on that with a lot of master gardeners and stuff, and I was trying to help with Bristol. I was also really new to Bristol, had no connections. But one of the things, so even if you've left your leaves or if you still have leaves in the spring, there's the question of when to rake up all the, people get out there like the first nice day, and that's a no-no for the pollinators. You're raking up all the things, there's caterpillars in there. And so some education, maybe hard to, not to get people to start mowing, but maybe we can, educate around not raking the leaves those first, as quickly as they do. And there should be some material we could get about that, because people are always out right away doing that, and it's kind of, that's not good. So if you can wait, like they say, if you can just hold on a little bit and wait, and I'm not exactly sure the amount of time and when that would be, but that would be a different kind of push than the early, don't mow. We could let them mow, but try to get them to leave the leaves. Because you can mulch the leaves that are in your lawn, but if you have piles of leaves, I mean, everybody rakes out all the leaves, right? And then they go and they buy mulch. This is the thing that drives me crazy, and then they put mulch in. And so, because the leaves are a natural mulch, but nobody wants to do that because it doesn't look as, perfect. So kind of inviting people to let it look a little more wild, I guess, is part of it, and understanding why, that it's because of the bees. And, there's also ground bees that are in there in all that stuff. And yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what it means for us and how we do it, but we could have some education that comes out. We could early on, around the time people start raking, and trying to say not to do that so soon.
It also seems like a good thing to educate in the fall too.
Well, yeah, in the fall, I mean, actually, if you do it right away, I don't think there's as much stuff in there, like if people are raking up their leaves, but because they say to leave the leaves. That's one of the things that confuses me about it, because I don't think there's as much that would be living in the leaves that have just fallen from my tree, right? Yet. Yeah.
I think the idea is that they need the leaves to protect them. So they need to live in the leaves. Or in like
as a habitat?
Yes. It's where they winter over. That's how they are protected. And so that's why you would leave your leaves, and then also why you would like leave the perennial plants that have all died, and you would usually cut them back. You want to leave those for a while and leave those through the spring, so that they are also protecting various bugs, and not just pollinators, but a lot of critters.
Right, and things live in the stems. I try to leave most of everybody cuts everything down, you're right, in the fall. And the actual stems is where some of these insects overwinter. And
they probably are just not thinking about it. They don't realize that makes a difference. And so I don't know.
So I think in terms of action items, then, I mean, really getting an educational outreach, something about pollination would be pretty cool for March or April. And then if someone could find online, or talk to someone about something, if we could have like brochures, we could print in color, maybe, if we have budget, a bunch of flyers that we could tri-fold, we could put on the grid table to pass out. It's an opportunity. It'll be May 2nd. That's early in the year. If that's a good time to connect with people about that stuff. I don't know if it is or not. We can also link that to if it's on our BCC webpage, if it's a PDF of whatever those materials are, then we can link that to Front Porch Forum posts as well. So there's lots of opportunities then to do things that I think are manageable. If we just had a couple people that kind of wanted to do that work, that would be great. Oh, hey, Jono. I look over here if I'm gonna see him. Hi. Wow, let's hope he's there. Okay, so how do we want to go ahead with, hey, Jono, we're just talking about this idea of, like I said, of No Mow May, thinking about pollinator plans and what that might look like, talking about some educational materials, and what we might do with pollination this spring, with education and outreach.
it would be great to coordinate it with, the education, like you said, that we're going to do. I don't know.
So you were gonna reach out to them anyway. Could you also ask them if there's materials they could they could forward to you, or that, or
I
they should, they might have their website or something.
Yeah, I could let them know that we're interested in helping educate our particular community
Yeah.
in that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
how, if they have any ideas or
Awesome.
information.
And if there's someone there that wants to come to our February meeting and talk to us, fantastic. If there's someone that wants to give a talk to the town, also fantastic, like whatever,
Okay.
whatever the involvement that looks like, yeah. I think there's also Be the Change, which is like two B, like two E's. I don't know who those guys are. I think they put pollinator seeds on that pollinator garden at Sycamore. I think Helen hooks that up somehow. Does anyone know anything about that? Okay. I
Not
haven't-
sure. Xerces, right? The Xerces, Xerces. Anybody heard of that? They gave presentation as part of pollinator pathways, and I heard something on bees, but I don't know if that's Be the Change. I
Yeah,
can look them, see if there's more information.
yeah, I just, it's like, it's hard when people leave and then that takes all that knowledge. You're like, oh, no, like you knew that, right? So I don't know.
Well, Helen definitely did the pollinator pathways. I met her through pollinator, Helen Young.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys know her. I have some, I mean, we could touch base with her. I don't know if she left the committee. She doesn't want to have anything to do with it at all, or she might.
She just retired from the committee because she had more grandbabies and wanted to spend time with them. No, we're all in good terms. I think they can when they plant like milkweed and, I don't know. Well, they plant pollinator friendly plants. So there's maybe a connection there, I don't know. But if you know this pollinator pathways, let's talk to them first, see what they have to say. And maybe see if they're interested in helping us out with some of this, or even just how to have these conversations. They'd be so helpful. Thank you. Okay, great. Anyone else about that, or should we move on? We're good on pollinators. Fantastic. I don't know if anyone has a Timberlands multi-trail partnership update. Roger isn't here. He's usually our one who updates us on that. Anyone want to say anything about that? No, we'll call that tabled. All right. Vermont Land Trust request for volunteers. Do we need any further discussion at this time? And should this stay on the agenda? It felt like it was maybe supposed to come off and then go back on, but then I was worried that I didn't want it to stay off for too long. So, Kristen, you were the one who had the touch point on this. Do you have any further?
I have not heard anything more definitive from Vermont Land Trust. So I think maybe if we keep it on the agenda for next month, by then they will be kind of organizing for a late April or early May planting.
Perfect. Okay, great. So I'll just keep it there. We'll sort of table it for now, but we'll let that ride for next time.
Cool.
That sounds perfect. Okay, so now let's talk about annual calendar. I am going to share my screen so we can look at our annual calendar things. This is something I've started doing each year for our January meeting. So we can sort of get a sense of where we're headed. So beautiful. Can we all see that? People at home can see that too? Great, thank you. Okay, so here's some of these annual tasks. So January, we start doing our green up day planning. Instead of no mow, we can discuss, not with the rec department, discuss pollinators. Great. Outreach education this year, we're continuing thinking about that. So we're gonna do February is water quality, and then March, April question mark. That sound appropriate? Okay, great. Check with select board on operating budget. Fantastic. Would anyone like to do that? Because Jono at one point did volunteer to be the checking in on operating budget person. Are you still interested in continuing that? Oh,
I don't think you can hear us.
darn, I really want him to do that,
I'm not hearing him say no.
I think that could be a great job for the vice chair. I believe he took that on when he was vice chair. It's really hard to get clarity on this point, of what is our operating budget and how much we have of it. Because the town has had so many questions. Okay, Jonna would like to say something. He's saying, so 45 minutes at the Salisbury Library trying to get Zoom. Bye.
You can call in on a phone. Oh, he's already gone.
Can't hear
We
you.
could just let him know he volunteered for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Looking for a way to participate.
All right, we'll have to email him about that. Okay, February, we're thinking, oh, and also we're January now, so this actually should be a February item. Oh, look, it was on here twice.
Okay.
Here we go. This is where we start thinking about it, and then we get the actual check-in here. Park plans for the year. Anyone have anything they would like to update at the parks? Anyone know anything on the horizon we have to do this year? Like what's happening with,
Yeah,
Eagle?
now that Helen's gone, we're gonna have to figure out what she did with the pollinator garden. I know she was working on it occasionally,
No, yeah.
weeding it and stuff. I never,
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Okay, so maybe we should think about, so February, we should think about park plans, if we're gonna have any work days, like we can start that conversation in February. Hopefully we can do February apple pruning, February, in February, maybe March, see how that goes. We'll check in with the operating budget at that time, because we did not do that yet. March. 26, that's our first Tuesday in March, which you said was the 4th.
No, that's
Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh, I have no idea how
I
do
think
that.
it,
Is
I
it,
think it's on there, it was.
is it,
It's the 3rd.
Yeah. Okay, great.
I think, yeah, I think, the hall is closed March 4th through September 30th.
Okay. So there we go. So we have March 3rd is town meeting date. That means we have our annual meeting then would fall just after that. In March. Some years that does end up falling there. Can someone give me out the time?
March 12th.
Thank you. Because I think what happened last year is we didn't have a quorum, or it fell in a funny way, and then we didn't have a quorum, and it took 2 months or something before we finally had our darn annual meeting. So we'll try that this year. Apple pruning, if we haven't done it yet, we better do it by March, it looks like. April, okay. So our last chance to organize Green Up Day. Does this all look appropriate for updates for 26? Are we gonna do anything with Eagle Garden Restoration? What's our plan there for 26?
Oh, I don't know, we'll have to assess it, I think.
Yeah. Okay, we don't need to do a Seth Hill. Our next outside meeting, you could think of a location for that. We like to do those in May sometimes or June. So we should think about that then. So I'll be on our calendar maybe for March. We think, or if we want to go visit, if there's a site visit we want to do, we want to like maybe tour Sycamore, see what's up there, look at Memorial, think about that bridge. That's always a nice time for us to have an outside meeting is May, June. Then in May, we have our Green Up Day happening. Eagle Park Perennial Garden Maintenance. We don't have any more construction there, is that correct? We're done, anyone?
Correct.
Okay.
No more construction.
No more construction. And we'll just say if we need maintenance, we'll do it then. When do we know if we need to do maintenance on that? What's our status? Did we plant perennials there? They were were they gonna be,
There
they were
are-
in buckets at Jono's house for a while, we put them back, or?
There's still there is still a pollinator garden, but it's smaller.
Oh, that's
one
right.
is-
And we raked it. Nikki and I, were you there too? Yeah. Right, we did that before the meeting for an hour and then we ran to Holly Hall.
Yeah.
That's right. So we should keep that on there though. So we'll do tentatively May. I think there was a tradition of doing it on Green Up Day. But now so many people in the commission help with Green Up Day. It's a little bit of like, we can't do it all in one day. So
Yeah.
we've been sort of kicking that to a different day in May. Any other work days anyone sees on the calendar, we'd probably put them in May. And we'd like to talk about revisiting this specific calendar in May, because otherwise we get too far in the future. Spend annual operating budget by June 30th, always, that stays there. The new budget starts the 1st. We have a planned hiatus usually in August. And then sometimes we do it in July as well, depending, or we do a Zoom one in July.
Yeah, it usually depends on what everybody's particular schedules are.
Okay, we'll just throw that out there, that June can be July can be a mixed bag, and August we often have a hiatus. September, but not always. Did we do a hiatus? Did we do a Zoom this year?
We did Zoom this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to just totally depend on everyone's vacation schedules.
Okay, yeah, let's do like,
We're
here, let's change this
okay.
to July, August. Okay, so we can say that's on the horizon then, that we're gonna either have a missed meeting, Zoom normal meeting, depending on people's schedules. Does that make sense for everyone? Great. And then September, we have the apple crop that we just don't know what to do with, it sort of hangs out there. And that's where we're at with some of this. In fall, operating budget continues to be a little bit of a stone in our shoe. Plan about wildlife, self-flexibility. Okay, we did all those things. October, nothing's planned for next October. If we want to do our tracking, we have to think about tracking in November when the snow comes out, and then there's that annual report that I didn't do. And we have to pay those on an unknown timeline. Future management plans. This one's done. All right.
Correct. So yeah, Town Green and Shacket would be next.
Cool. All right, anyone have anything they want to throw on here? Feel good?
I think AZ wanted to come to one of our winter meetings to talk about having us participate in the town plan writing and revision.
Great.
Great. Beautiful. That's awesome. Anyone else? Thoughts? And then of course the normal stuff, but there's just things that like happen every year, we just want to keep track of. Otherwise, we often get to like March or like, or April, like, did anyone prune those trees? You know, so it's just good to have that conversation. We try to keep space for our January meeting. Feel good? Great. Okay, thank you for your time with that. That helps smooth out the year. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, great. And now agenda. Okay, where are we? Okay, event annual calendar. We're done with the calendar, yes? Fantastic. Annual report. Okay, now I gotta do a new share. Yay. These high flex meetings are a lot sometimes. Okay. Sharing. The annual report is here. Beautiful. Okay, so a couple things about the annual report. So it was technically due, and Nancy sent it out like she was supposed to. Thank you so much for your help. And then I didn't take care of it like I was supposed to. So that's on me. Thank you for your help with that though. I just flaked. Okay, so here's what we have for right now. And there were some concerns that were like blatantly, like people's names were missed. There were some errors. So it gives us a sense to look over some things now. And you can let me know if we need to change things before I submit this tomorrow. I was given 2 extensions on this by Ian Elvinson.
I think it looks great, Carolyn. Thanks for adding that little note about Jim.
Oh, I realized we didn't talk about that last meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I just found,
yeah.
I know,
Sad.
it was great, yeah. I just to make sure we have a chance, I added some comments people had made. We had a Jen Fragas to this. We had a few different small things. There were some thoughts about the universal accessibility upgrades that were discussed, and that was sort of rolled into the Eagle Park maintenance. I don't know if we wanted to make that like a separate bullet point or not. And I don't even remember if it was this year. I just can't keep it all straight. Does anyone remember if that was this year? I just can't recall. They all sort of blur time. I'm getting old, you know.
Doesn't ring a bell.
You don't remember that? Okay.
I mean, it didn't come up.
Yeah, because you were looking through the minutes, right? So we
Well,
did. talk
me
about
and
the-
my AI friend.
That's great. Are we okay with this bullet point here? I want to make sure that that upheld sort of the feeling that we all had about that, the Timberlands multi-trail partnership. That was some tricky wording there. Same with the dam monitoring. That was, I wasn't exactly sure how to word some of that. Okay,
Yeah, I wonder where things are at with that.
yeah.
No idea. 93 tires, lawn tires. Or 95.
Yeah, by far the most in the county, which is funny.
Yeah.
Because we had not that much as much weight as other, I felt like the whole county seemed to have less weight this year.
I bet it was
I
weather.
think it was weather, if everyone was low, yeah.
Yeah.
But we had a ton of tires. Some of us have stumbled upon a lot of them, or we have a tire problem, I don't know which. Like, I don't, we did have like outlier high amount of tires, yeah.
Carolyn, I just looked up and the final report from Du Bois King for that accessibility study was dated January 2025. So we might have had a little bit of spillover into January of this year where we attended a public meeting on that or something. But
Do you want to add that in to capture that?
I don't think we need to necessarily because we, like you say, we have it under the Eagle Park
Okay.
point. I think that would be fine.
The next page as is, so I was trying to be brief, but there was so much to cover.
Yeah.
Okay, do we feel good about that then, everyone?
Yep.
Okay? I'll just save this as a PDF, send it over, and then, what I'll do is I'll send this over to, I'll send that to Ian, and then I'll also, put that on the website, and, I don't think Gail's on the website either, that didn't go through, so I'll do a couple, I'll request a few updates to the website, including uploading the new version of this, where every year what I do is I have all of the annual reports, and then I use Adobe to add the latest one and so, like combine that file. So we always have like one more year added. So around this time of year, I just keep adding one more year of annual reports and that, and then I just upload the new version. So instead of being like 2004 through 2024, then it's through 25 or whatever, you know, so. That gets put on the website every year, just so you know that's happening, in case I'm not around, someone can continue that, so we don't start losing them. Because it'd be easy to lose, I think, if we didn't keep them together like that. And then people can look at them. I think it's really good for new members to read through those, to think about what we've been up to. Okay, other thoughts about annual report? We feel okay with that? Sort of the annual trajectory where we're at. Is there anything new they would like? We didn't talk about this with the calendar. Anything new you want to add to the calendar? Let's think about those things. There's something that you're like, you know what? Like, I really care about this bridge project. I think this is important and we need to do it. And like, that'd be amazing, right? Or if there's like someone that really wants to run with something this year, like feel free. Sometimes it takes people on the commission a little bit of time before they sort of feel like, oh, I feel comfortable in this, and now I want to like, this is the project I want to do. Like, feel free to just throw an idea and we'll be like, great, that can be on the agenda and you can run with that. And that's fantastic. So always feel free. Anyone who's been on the commission for any amount of time should be welcome to feel, if there's something you are passionate about and you want to do. That's great. Cool. Okay, so then our next meeting will be February 12th. It'll be after we have the water quality presentation. So we'll all see each other then with that 6:15 arrival to help with that event. But then the next meeting will be the 12th. Sound good? Okay, great. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. You gotta second it.
Oh, I think you said, yeah, I'll second.
Awesome. All those in favor of returning. All right, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Carol.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Bye.
Bye.